Chaco is a place of extremes. The fact that they were able to meet their basic needs and construct massive monuments tells us that, they were doing more than just surviving. This place was the center of a thriving culture, and quite often you'll hear Pueblo Bonito described of the center of the center. And it's one of the most important buildings architecturally and historically, not just in the entire country, but in the entire world. Chaco Culture National Park is one of the protected sites within the United States and within the national park system, but it's also been recognized as a World Heritage Site.
Today, in the year 2019, Chaco Canyon and the Chaco Historic Site are seen as preeminent examples of a civilization that was predominantly a permanent sedentary agrarian society. As early as perhaps the 1st century, by the 6th century CE, they had advanced their skill sets to create large, expansive, multiple-story structures that house anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 people.
The tallest walls we see, those are part of the 4th and 5th stories. And you had several hundred rooms. Some of the rooms were used for storage, some of the rooms were lived in, and some of the rooms were sealed up. It was a monument. We're standing in one of the 400 plus rooms here at Pueblo Bonito, and this room is one of the most visited attractions here at Chaco. This alignment of doorways is one of the most photographed spots probably in all of New Mexico. And in these interior rooms, you can see the wood, what's left of it, and where it would have been. Right above us, there are these holes in the wall where large beams would have been positioned to create the floors and the ceilings of the rooms. The wood was brought in from over 50 miles away. It was hand carried. There were no draft animals or carts. There's a lot of researchers who believe that when the wood made its journey, it never touched the ground. And so there might have been teams of people who would carry this wood over these great distances to help construct these buildings.
There was some trade routes from as far south as what we now call Mexico in Central America. Because in Chaco Canyon, they found things like cocoa beans, parrot and macaw feathers, copper bells, seashells that they traded probably through a process much like the Silk Road in Europe, that they eventually made it their way up here. So we know that there was some commerce from other places around on the Western Hemisphere. To have that potential as a civilization means you have to have the wherewithal to provide food for everybody every single day. You had to provide some source of water, because that's the things we need as human beings. Second of all, they must have had some sort of social structure that allowed them to have some sense of stability.
All the Puebloan communities can trace their information, their education. That information all came from Chaco. Zuni, Laguna, Acoma, Hopi, Santo Domingo, all these other Puebloan communities. It was a combination of all of us there at one time.
When we look at the environment of what we see, especially here in the Southwest, a desert, but really there is abundance of life. There's abundance of resources. But at the same time, we know there were periods of times of drought, crop failure, and that's perhaps what contributed to why these people at some point decided to leave that place.
This place is visited by all the Puebloan communities. We leave an offering, we visit with our ancestors. So to say that this place is abandoned is really far from the truth of what we hold Chaco as being. It's an important place for all of us.
Whatever knowledge we have, we pass on to the next generation. That's who we are as human beings. We get a chance to tell our story with our perspective, with our insight, and with the wisdom and knowledge that we have. That's what these places mean, that we garner the story to tell it in our own way and respectful of those who preceded us.